Welcome to Pedagogy NEXT, a podcast about excellence in teaching and higher education. The podcast series showcases and celebrates teaching stories and insights from both award-winning faculty members and university administrators. Hosted by the UT Arlington Academy of Distinguished Teachers in partnership with OIT, CERTL, and the Center for Distance Education, we feature a storytelling focus on highlighting diverse voices of educators. For our podcast today, Dr. Pete Smith is interviewing myself, Dr. Peggy Semingson. We focus primarily on my role in online learning over the years since I have been at UTA since 2008. I'm currently an associate professor in the Department of Linguistics and TESOL and teach mostly online. Prior to that, I was an elementary school teacher and reading specialist in the public schools in California and Texas for 8 years. My primary interest in teaching is in flexible, high-quality online learning. I have leveraged various technologies into teaching awards over the years and have used it with my teaching to help students learn on the go.
Hello and welcome to Pedagogy NEXT. I'm LaDonna Aiken and we're here today with Dr. Peggy Semingson, Associate Professor in the Department of Linguistics. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's good to chat. So I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, and usually, you're hosting, so now you get to be on the hot seat, right?
I am.
Well, tell us a little bit about your beginning here at UTA.
Okay, so I came here in 2008, which was right when the economy tanked. So I was really grateful to be here, and I'm still grateful. And I have taught students, undergraduate, graduate students, mainly online. So that's my thing. I love it. Online teaching since 2008. And I've really developed my skills with that, and I try to help other people kind of figure it out. And so during the pandemic, I really was open to sharing, and I'm still open to sharing.
And I remember those times, and I really appreciated that because, we were all kind of thrown into online teaching.
Yeah, totally. And then I'll mention, too, I was a K through 12 school teacher for 8 years. So I kind of have some really good foundations in what teaching is and what learning is. And I think that's been helpful, even though that was different. It helps me to know how people learn.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your worldview?
Yeah. Okay, so when I came here, right away I had to hit the ground running with online teaching. And so at first I was nervous, deer in the headlights, but I'm like, this is where we're at with teaching and learning. And so I believe that we have to equip ourselves with being the best educated instructors that we can be. So I took a lot of classes and workshops through, our centers for teaching along the way, Center for Distance Ed. And then I signed up for workshops through the Online Learning Consortium, Quality Matters, just kind of went down the rabbit hole with that to build myself up. So my worldview is that we always have to stay current with teaching to engage our students, and we have to understand our student demographics. Like, I'm now 50, and my students are much younger for the most part, so I have to stay current with where they're at, with how they learn.
Absolutely, and I also see that in my classroom as well. So, and I think that's what's great about this podcast is we can talk about what is coming up too.
Yeah, exactly. It's always changing. So just staying current. And then being open to online teaching, kind of embrace that openness, embraces my worldview.
Yes, I'm seeing that too with my students. They got to experience a little bit of the online learning, and a lot of them are like, hey, I kind of like this.
Oh, during COVID?
Yes,
yeah, totally, yeah.
What's an idea or a mentor or a teacher who's changed your way of thinking?
Okay, so I had a mentor here, and he was an administrator. It was Dr. David Silva. I don't know if you ever met him. So he went to Salem State University, but I keep in touch with him on social media. And he was just really inspiring. He was also in the Department of Linguistics and TESOL, and he mentored me for 2 years. Like when I first got here, didn't know much about higher ed, and he mentored me. And we had a lot of conversations, and he just modeled good teaching and embraced it. And then he led some initiatives that helped faculty. And during one of his workshops, I went to one in particular where the guy, this was just like a quick little comment, he put up a flip camera. Do you remember those?
Oh, yes, I remember
Way
those.
back then.
Yes.
It was like 2009. So he put it up there, and he's like, just put this little camera up and record yourself teaching. And I was like, And so I got a flip camera, and actually got a little grant. through UTA, and I got 10 flip cameras, and I would sometimes record myself teaching, just myself, not the students, like mini lectures, and I would put those on my YouTube channel. And so to me, that just launched like really leveraging my YouTube channel. And then, you know, just thinking about video, I mean, like even what we're doing now. So that little workshop and that little thing that happened there through David Silva really impacted me in thinking about video.
And I like that, you know, it's always good to take a step back and look at how we are being perceived, right?
Yeah.
So a video is a good way to kind of, you know, look at that.
Yeah, exactly. And it was easy to do.
Yes.
I just put it on a little tripod.
And it's even easier now, right?
Yeah,
You
totally
know?
easier. You can do it with your phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was kind of an turning point in my career for
Right.
teaching.
So what would you say are some of your best teaching ideas and activities with students?
I've done a lot. So I've done the more traditional, like, I really love dialogue. I'm big when I teach on campus, I'm big into dialogue and conversation. And of course I do discussion boards online, but those can get a little, you know, boring,
Yes.
for lack of a better word, or perfunctory as I like to think of it. So I've done more interesting conversational approaches, like where students do peer review of each other's work, and that can be helpful. And then also I've done an interesting project. It was funded by a UTA grant where they did cross-course mentoring. So I had a blog through OIT, and then my master's students got on the same blog as the pre-service teachers, and the pre-service teachers would share their lesson ideas, even if they were half-baked ideas, you know, like forming an idea, or if they had a video of themselves teaching, and then the master students would give feedback, and they were all practicing teachers. And I think the master students actually really enjoyed it more than the undergrads. Not that they didn't enjoy it, but I think the mentoring was satisfying for them. It was hard to organize it because I had a large number of master students at the time and not as many undergrads, so the numbers weren't quite there, but the general idea was good.
What do you think they liked about that the most?
I think they just wanted to feel useful. Sometimes school teachers I was a school teacher, sometimes they can feel like not recognized,
Right.
you know, or like invisible labor, and so I think I think it was meaningful on some level.
Yeah, I think anytime we can incorporate that into the classroom, I think it's a good
Totally.
idea.
Yeah, and then I've done, I just finished a course that was also funded by someone else's grant, Dr. Ia Price and I think Lonnie Harrison in Modern Languages. The U.S. Department of State sponsored a global studies course, and we had students from Russia, and then we had UTA students in the global studies course, and then we did synchronous sessions where they did cross-cultural communication. And that was learning for all of us. And I had a counterpart in Russia. He was in St. Petersburg. So the class was at 8 in the morning, not too bad.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, all those time zone
Yeah.
differences. And so that was neat because that kind of class wouldn't exist without online learning. So I loved that part of it. And then we did a lot of group projects, and it was good.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I loved it.
Can you describe a time with students when you felt truly inspired, and what made you feel that way?
Yeah, I would say I enjoy keeping in touch with my students, mainly on social media. It's just easy. If they want to keep in touch with me when they graduate, they can always reach out. But I've had students create their own YouTube channels, and to me, I love seeing the long-term impact, you know, of teaching, like years later, you know, something that sticks with them. And so having them be inspired, it was during COVID that they thought to create a YouTube channel. Based on, you know, my having done that and them following my YouTube channel after they graduated was inspiring to me. It's like, I love seeing that long term.
Yeah, I love to see
growth.
them succeed.
Yeah, be creative. So, yeah.
Who would you network with, and like, where do you get information related to teaching?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think it's important for all of us to find that mentor, but also have that source.
Yeah, so I don't know if you were you in the professional learning communities?
Yes, actually, yeah.
Okay, that's one way we've connected. So I think those have been really helpful. So through now CERTL, the professional learning communities are like in different topics. So I was always in the like technology. What were you in?
It was more about team-based learning.
Oh yeah, that's right, when it first started. Okay, yeah, so they've had different themes. So that has been a good way to long-term, again, I like the kind of long game with teaching, like long-term just connect with people and steal ideas.
Yes.
So there have been some really good ones, and the ones I still want to try like the H5P that Christy Spivey does, and others. So I want to try that one still. But yeah, just getting ideas from kind of what I call like-minded colleagues.
Right, and I think it's that inspiration and the way we add our own twist to it that makes it, ours.
Yeah, you can see what they're doing, and it's kind of low-key. So I do best in kind of low-key environments. Like I have a harder time with like structured like due dates, ironically. It's just hard for me, but yeah, organic conversations, social media, just like keeping your ear to the ground, I think, especially with the online stuff.
Especially now, too.
Yeah.
And what would you say to our audience about what you do and how you're pushing pedagogy forward?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So 2 things. Online learning. I'm a big champion about online. I know it's not for all subjects. That came up during COVID, but it can work for allowing larger classes and more flexible learning. I've also done high flex teaching where some students come to campus because they prefer that. And I can understand that because like I need to go to a gym to get, told what to do at home in my living room. I'm going to go lay down on the couch. And so I think that might be one reason students want to come. They just feel more disciplined or engaged in a I totally get that. But then students will join online because they live far away or they're school teachers. It's just not as convenient for them or even possible to drive to campus at night. So high flex, I think, is a great happy medium for both of those. So yeah, I think pushing pedagogy forward is staying flexible.
Absolutely, and I think I learned a lot about that, because of COVID, as many of us did. And there are different ways that we learn, and I'm like you. I think being around others kind of energizes me and motivates me, and I see that with some students too. And I love to see them make those connections with each other in class.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, and sometimes, like I said, when I go to the gym, if I go to yoga, it's like they've got the music going, and it's just kind of like the ambiance.
Right.
So it's just you don't get the same online, but like I said, I'm a fan. And then the second thing is AI. I think pushing things forward, we have to not ignore artificial intelligence and what that's going to look like in a few years and in their workplaces, right? Like what's going to get automated, like even in your subject, in your area, right? Like video production.
I think there are ways that we can stay ahead of that curve because it's not something we can ignore. Like you said, it's going to happen. Things are going to get automated. Jobs are going to change. So we need to stay on top of that. And like you said, be flexible and, considering the new ways that things are happening. So I think that's very, very important.
And I'll just say UTA has been doing some things with AI. So like CERTL is going to come out with that. What is it, like a OER, Open Education book? So that's coming. And then OIT has done some prompt-a-thons, and then I think they're going to do more stuff like that. So we can just look to those areas and Center for Distance Ed.
I hope everybody does because it's so important right now.
Yeah, totally.
And we're not the only ones worried about it. Like students are worried about it. They want to find their place in the world that includes AI too.
Totally. Yeah. Well,
so finally, just looking back at your career, what's something you would say to your younger self?
Okay. So when I was younger, when I first got here in my mid-30s, I think I was afraid. I was kind of afraid of I don't know what to do, and so I would just say, kind of do what you did, like go out and find resources to help you. Like you don't have to do this alone. Like just find people to help you, find workshops. Just read on your own. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everybody for tuning in.
Yeah.
The podcast series is hosted by members of the Academy of Distinguished Teachers at UT Arlington and supports dialogue surrounding teaching. The aim is to share experiences, ideas, innovations, and inspirations to develop reflective teaching and excellence. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Amazon. Podcast hosts include Pete Smith, LaDonna Aiken, and myself, Peggy Semingson. Behind-the-scenes support comes from our thought partners and experts in OIT, including Lee Pierce, Howard Prince, Cyrus Haskell, and William Mercer. Dakota Jimenez and Center for Distance Education is helping produce. A disclaimer: all views shared are the perspectives of individual faculty and staff and do not reflect the views of UT Arlington or the Academy of Distinguished Teachers.